Welcome back, everybody, to this series of songs. Of course you knew that the show was going to continue. I didn't even throw out my guitar pick, and so I had to play some more songs. So I'm playing an encore, at least that's what I'm calling it in my set of songs. And it is starting with the song that this particular catalog of songs is named after. It's called Spiritual Devil. Spiritual Devil is something that arrived from a dream, and that story will have to be told at some point in the future, even though I've already covered it in the past here. But that story for sure will come into play in this series, because on this series we talk about wellness and conservation. Wellness has a lot to do with sleeping better, with being rested, with healing during our resting processes, and with continuing to improve during our hours of awakening. And so if you're awake for much of the day, sometimes late into the evening, like I am, hopefully you're doing things that are constructive and not absolutely destructive to what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve peace, let it begin with you, right? If let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. We all should take this seriously, because some of us can easily review the circumstances that we're in and recognize we don't talk with a lot of people because we have not extended the olive branch. And once we start to recognize those things, what we need to do is start to try to build that bridge, the bridge that was supposedly burned down. You know, one person recently contacted me and said that they hoped that we could still communicate and that they hadn't burned all of the bridges down. And I said that, you know, whether they burned down the bridges or not, I've been reconstructing bridges of communication and opportunities of conversation, and I absolutely am able to continue to communicate with whomever it is that would like to communicate with me. The communication process is multi-directional. If there are two people involved, generally it's just the two parties who are communicating. But when you recognize that only one person is fully communicating, only one person can answer the questions, only one person can relay new information to the person they're talking with, only one person can evoke some kind of a new awareness out of that person. At that point in time, sometimes you can recognize that the communication has already become one-directional. A one-directional conversation is something where, for an example, let's say you and I, for an example, let's say that I've harmed you in any way. I've made you feel inferior, or if I've made you feel rejected. And if we were talking right now because we were continuing to try and figure out this relationship, whether it was familial or, whatever it happened to be, if I had done that, and if you told me, hey, you know, Ray, that time that you said so-and-so, or that time that you did such and such, that really hurt my feelings. I would have to hear that. And the way I respond is usually indicative of whether or not I am myself or whether I am fully my own ego. If I am fully my own ego, I might simply return to, why you got to bring up the past? I might bring up a situation that changes the subject entirely. I might do anything except for acknowledge that distress that I caused you. If I have a pet, this series is about rescuing animals, for an example. If I have a pet and if I do something, if I make loud noises around it and it cowers in the corner, then I have to recognize that this is causing an uneasiness, dis-ease in the pet that I'm describing. If I walk to that pet in that state of rage, that pet knows it might be smaller and weaker than me. Now imagine if you did something like that and it was towards a grizzly bear cub that you found in the wild, and then the mother grizzly bear came and saw what you were doing you were taunting its grizzly bear cub. The mother bear might do something to neutralize the situation. Somewhere in between these animalistic acts of sheer rage and the consciousness of being able to have a communication with one another, we should be able to find a peaceful way to communicate these frustrations. One time, a great friend of mine told me that they received the wrong type of meat in their burger that they ordered. And that meat caused them to go into such a fury that they went back to this burger place, went inside to talk to the people at the counter, and threw the burger down on the counter itself, saying, "This is not what I ordered. Look at my receipt." And basically, what that showed was a temper tantrum. That basically was a temper tantrum that was being thrown. So as this person was communicating with me, I said as much. That news wasn't received initially as something that was productive. And so for that reason, I started to recognize that, hey, not everyone is into receiving constructive criticism. Even our own fathers, for an example, who we might have relayed some kind of discomfort to, might give us some other topic to discuss. They might never acknowledge what it is that happened. And because they don't acknowledge you, doesn't mean that you should not feel acknowledged. If anything, you should feel empowered that you finally spoke your truth. So this particular song talks about, maybe it's the spiritual devil they hear, we hear, "The Lord is my salvation, so whom shall I fear?" Maybe it's the way that I feel when you're near. Maybe it's the way that our ways disappear. This song talks on so many levels about just communicating how these old ways might need to be put to rest. The old ways are to overlook, to not communicate, and to become offended at every single thing. Like, for an example, the name of this song is Spiritual Devil. The name of this album is Spiritual Devil. The month that I'm putting these songs out most frequently is during a spiritual month in most people's calendars. However, as spiritual as these people might be, all of the decorations might have nary a sign or any sentiment in the hopes of the second coming of the entity after whom this celebration is orchestrated. It's just a thought. I'm not 100% sure where you stand, but I can tell you that based on the feedback, comments, based on the thumbs up, thumbs down, based on the subscriptions, it is a slow-going, long and narrow path. And the only way to, for sure, guarantee success is to put your heart into this effort like as if it matters, because it does. So hopefully we can find a way to change our ways and to discuss the things that need to be discussed and to stop being disgusted by the things that are not disgusting. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope that you enjoy the next upcoming songs and that you stay tuned for the big finale. Thanks again.